Hello everyone, it's Anna, also known as Book Anna, and today I'm going to do a video that I've seen last few weeks going around, and that would be a tag video, getting to know my reading taste tag. I think it's so fun. Well, it seems so fun to do, and I just wanted to do it to have a little bit of chat about what I like and dislike. I feel like this is a great way to find your favorite booktubers and to find people that your reading taste really aligns with. First question is, how do you rate books? Give a quick rundown of how you do your star rating, or if you don't use star rating, how you evaluate books. So, I do use star rating. I used to use star rating on Goodreads, which I didn't really like because it has only full numbers, so you cannot put like 1.25 or 4.75. But recently I started using Fable, and Fable has those kind of ratings every quarter rating, 5, and I use all of that. Mostly I am very picky about rating books 5.0 stars. Last year I had only 3 books that I rated that high, and this year for now I only have 1. For me, 5-star book needs to be a book that I just feel some kind of connection with, and that whilst I'm reading it, I cannot even imagine giving it any lesser, or I don't even have to question myself, is it a 5-star book? Because I just have this feeling, and I don't know if I can explain the feeling that I have, but it's just like, you know. And I don't really care if it's objectively bad, because maybe people don't really enjoy the book, but for me it's like something in that book just spoke to me on a different level, and I understood it, and that's why it's 5-star book. Most of my books are rated 3.5 to 4.25, I think. For me, rating 3 and above are not bad books, so 3 to 3.75, those are not bad books. Those are just books that didn't stick out in any way to me, and I think they're good, and I think they are okay written books, but nothing about them spoke to me, nothing about them make me feel like they're the book that I will remember forever. I feel like if the book is 4 stars and above, that will probably mean that I will remember that book, and if it's 3-star, I will probably forget it. Now, 2 stars, and I rarely give 2 stars. It means for me that I don't see myself recommending that book to anybody, and nothing about that book made me think. No characters in that book made me want to care for them. 1-star books are the books I rarely give 1 star to books. Usually if I really don't like the book, I'll give it a 2-star. 1 star I give only to the books that I feel like are problematic, the books that I feel like shouldn't have ever been written. Those are the books that I give 1 star to. I usually, even if you saw my wrap up videos before, even if I really dislike the book, I will still give it a 2-star, because I don't think it's a bad book necessarily. I just think I did not like it. 1 star is reserved only for the things that I feel like this is bad, not like only badly written, but this is not good. The themes that this book explores are not explored well. They're not talked about in the way that I want them to talk about. Oh, great. So I don't know if you can hear it, but my neighbor decided that they want to renovate their apartment, I guess, now. So great. But yeah, that's basically it. That's how I rate my books. Second question is, how do you approach reviewing books? What's your review style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, or structured? Well, I think I'm very casual in reviewing my books. I never really written an analytic review on the book. I'm sorry, I'm a bit sick. Yeah, I feel like when I write a review, they're usually 1-sentence reviews, or even sometimes like 2 to 3 words reviews. I don't really go into depth with reviewing of the books. Here on my channel, when I try to do wrap-ups, I try to explain a bit more why I gave it, but I still don't think that's anywhere structured or analytical. I just say what I felt. When I'm talking to my friends, I would say maybe I'm then the most analytical, because usually when I am telling somebody about the book in person, they ask me some questions, so I kind of need to answer those questions as well. So that's probably the most analytical that I get. But yeah, my reviews are usually casual, as you guys could see. Even if the book is objectively well written book and book that people do like, I might not like it. So I feel like I'm a bit more emotional in reviewing and in having any kind of thoughts in books, because as I said, if the book is 5-star book, it's not 5-star because I think it's the best written book ever, but it's 5-star because it spoke to me on some level and I just got something from it that maybe other people didn't, and that's okay. But yeah, I would say I'm mostly emotional, not that analytical. But I still think that I can differentiate between a bad written book and a good written book. The things that I feel towards the books are mostly emotional things, not like analytically. I think this book was written bad, but like I just didn't like the writing style. What's the book that made you a reader? Whether it was your first favorite or the one that got you hooked, what book started all? I would probably say it is The Hunger Games. I remember when I think I was 6th or 7th grade. It was Christmas and I picked up first book in that series. I read it that evening, and then I really wanted the second and third book, and we could not find the second book in the same edition anywhere because publishing house that published the first book was discontinued, and so the second book you couldn't even buy that book anywhere, so we had to like dig through some kind of website where people put their used stuff, not only books but everything, and we found the second and the third together, so we bought them and I was so happy. And I feel like whole Hunger Games I read in 24 hours, definitely, although there was a big gap between the first book and the second while we found it. But if you count only my reading, yeah, 24 hours definitely, because when I got the second and the third one, I read them back to back. And after that, I picked up Divergent, but that wasn't a good. And I started going more to the library, and I started picking up more books that I didn't hear people talking about. And then I discovered that there's a whole YouTube BookTube thing that I didn't even know existed before, and then I started watching it and I got more and more into the books. And yeah, so Hunger Games is definitely the book that started it all. But for my current reading taste, the book that really made me understand my reading taste a lot more is, I feel like the book that really made me understand my reading taste is Mexican Gothic by Celia Moreno Garcia. That is the book that I remember I picked up because a booktuber recommended it. I really, really liked it a lot, and that's when I figured out that I like those kind of weird, horror-y stories, that I do enjoy that a lot, and that's something that I want to read more in the future. So everyone who said that they like Mexican Gothic, I trusted them immediately with any recommendations. I was like, okay, that person knows me, they understand my reading taste. Do you have a genre niche? Are there certain genres you gravitate towards, or do you read widely across genres? I definitely have a genre niche, but I do try to read as widely as I can. Definitely I try to give every book a chance, even if it's not maybe the genre that I usually pick up. If the synopsis sounds good or interesting to me, I will definitely try to give a book a chance. But my genre niche, I would say weird lit fic, probably the most read genre, fantasy and sci-fi and horror. But the most read, I would say weird lit fic, with people that are unhinged women, unhinged men, writing style that is very experimental, and there is no plot. It's like character study. I think that's my genre niche, definitely. I started with reading fantasy mostly, So I feel like fantasy is still a big part of my reading taste, and I do really enjoy reading fantasy books and like epic fantasy series that have like these big world building, and everything is on another level. Everything is so important. It's not just about a character. So although character study books are my favorite kind of books, I do enjoy good plot, good world ending plot, main character needs to save everything. I do enjoy it a lot. I like stories about families that are again unhinged and not something is happening in the family, something problematic. I like reading about people problems, and yeah, I think that's my niche. Do you generally prefer character driven or plot driven stories? Okay, so I already answered that one. I do enjoy character driven stories. If the book has a very good plot, but I don't resonate with any of the characters in the book, then I don't really care if anything happens to them. So everything is not even that important to me. But if the book has really well-rounded character and the plot is nowhere to be found, I still do intend to enjoy the book, because I don't really care about plot. If I'm in your head and if I find things that are happening in your head really interesting, I don't really care about the plot of the book. I mean, I care about what you're thinking about. Definitely, character driven books are my favorite. What's a book you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it? What's the book that you love enough for everyone? Mona Watt is an author that people either really enjoy or really don't enjoy. I'm on the side of people really enjoying her books, and her book is my favorite book of all time, All's Well. And I feel like people, when they talk about Mona Watt, they usually talk about Bunny and not really All's Well as their favorite book. So I feel like I can love that book for everyone. That book means so much to me, and I don't care if people don't like that book, because I know that Mona Watt's writing style is not for everyone, and I know that a lot of people would think that it's very bizarre and not very cohesive, and they wouldn't really care about that book. But I really do care about that book, and yeah, that's just one of those books that if I give it to one of my friends and they said to me I didn't really like it, I would say it's fine, it's okay, but I would just be glad that they tried to read it. I just feel like that's one of those books that I don't expect anyone to like it. It's not like a book that I feel it's objectively good book, so you should like it. I am well aware that it's a book that I like for my own reasons, and that people around me probably won't feel the same about that book. What's a book you love so much that if someone doesn't like it, you know your reading tastes don't align? The book or books where a difference of opinion is a strong indicator of different reading preferences. Okay, so yeah, if people don't, well, not a book necessarily, but maybe an author, Mona Watt, if people don't really like her books, we probably won't align in literary fiction, horror genre. I feel like if you don't like Mona Watt writing style, if you don't like Monstrilio, if you don't like Brat, a ghost story, we probably won't agree on good literary fiction books. If you don't like character driven stories, if you think they're boring, we won't have the same reading taste almost at all. Or if you think that culture series is boring, yeah, we probably won't like the same kind of sci-fi books. Now, I'm not saying that our reading tastes are completely different, but I feel like we don't really gravitate towards the same books. The most I see people reading tastes aligning or not aligning with mine is in that literary fiction horror genre, and if people don't like that, then I probably won't really use their recommendations. I will, although maybe if they recommend something that I really think it's interesting, I would still pick it up. But I will tend to gravitate towards people that say that they like Mona Watt writing style, or Eliza Clark. I feel like also one of those authors that if people don't really like her writing style or her books, I feel like I will probably not like the books that you read, because I love those kind of books. What's in your trash pocket? What books, tropes, or themes that you know are bad but you love them anyway? So I don't really understand that question. Like, the bad, does it mean that they're very controversial or they're just like overused? But let's say, okay, so for fantasy, I feel like I know that A Chosen One is very much overused. But I don't really mind it at all. I think that if the plot of the book and the characters are in the book are not the same as every other Chosen One book, I don't really at all mind the Chosen One. I don't care if it's overused. Another trope that I do really tend to enjoy most of the time is that fighting to the death games, like Hunger Games or Immortal Longings. Yeah, I do tend to enjoy that, and I know that it's overused, like in those kind of dystopian universes. I don't really care if it's overused, because that just means for me that more books I can read that have that trope, and I know I do enjoy that trope. Other tropes that I feel like maybe could be, I feel like people don't really like, family problems and marriage problems. I love reading about those. I love reading about people being not happy in their marriage, and then because those kind of literary fiction books are kind of my favorites, where people aren't really happy with their partner, then they do something unhinged. I love those books, and not because I have any, well, maybe I do have some kind of unresolved problem with myself, but I just tend to really find those books really interesting to read about those things, because those are not the things that I feel. So it's very interesting to read a completely different perspective from yours. I like when characters are really sad and depressed, and I love reading about that. That's it. Unhinged people, Chosen One, Games to Death, everything that is very weird and depressing. I love reading about that. Do you have any deal breakers in books? Something that, if present, immediately turns you off from a book? Yes, I do have deal breakers definitely in books, and sometimes it doesn't only turn me away from the book, but from the author himself, because it is something that I don't feel like is necessary at all, and if you're writing about it, I don't think I want to read books from you. I tend to really not enjoy anything that is written in the book only for a shock factor. I really don't like it. I don't want to read some things just because it's shocking. If it doesn't compel any characters to do anything, if it's not a part of the plot and then in the end it gets resolved in some kind of way, I don't think that it should have been written in the book, especially if it's something that's very triggering and problematic. So some examples that I have of those are Murakami's Norwegian Wood, that I already talked about, and Lapvona from Tessa Marshfag. So Murakami written one of the books that I thought as one of my favorite books, and then I read Norwegian Wood, and after that I just don't really want to read anything else by him. Tessa Marshfag is an author that I did want to give her a chance, because she does write books that sound like they could be books that I tend to enjoy, but after reading Lapvona, I also don't really want to read her books anymore, and I don't know if I'll ever will pick up her book again. I don't like when abusing children is part of the book. I hate that if it's there for shock factor, which I personally feel it was in both of those books. I don't think that that's something that you should use as a shock factor. The other thing that I don't really like in books is gore, like a lot of gore. I know there are like certain genre of books that is really gory. I will probably not really go towards reading those books, because I don't really like gore. What's a strong opinion you have about a book released within the last year, whether it's overrated, underrated, or just a take you need to share? Unfortunately, I didn't really read a lot of books that came out last year. I don't know why, but I think like I read maybe 10 of them, so I don't really have that many opinions. But some books that I have that I feel like my opinion is different than majority's opinion, probably Dark and Drowning Tide, a book that I read this year, but it came out last year. I think that is, for me, the worst dark academia book I've ever read. I thought it was so dull. The mystery part was so... It just didn't make any sense because you knew who done it at the beginning. The romance was slow burn, which I usually like, but for these characters, I just didn't really care if they get together or not. The writing style, I didn't like it. Any kind of descriptions of places they were just didn't make sense to me. I just didn't enjoy that book at all, and I was angry that it was so long and I didn't enjoy it. Other book that I feel like most people have this opinion of this book is The Familiar by Lee Bardugo. I don't think it's overrated because I didn't see a lot of people talking about it as it is a good book. People are usually talking about it saying that they are disappointed, and I feel the same way. I only read Six of Crows duology from her. Writing style in Six of Crows and in The Familiar didn't even really seem like the same author. I don't know what happened, but The Familiar was just so meh, so underwhelming. I can't even tell you what the book was really about because I don't remember. It was just such a meh book, and I feel like mostly people feel that way about that book. What do you look for in writing? What makes a book stand out to you? Is it prose style, themes, voice, structure, or something else? If I had to choose one of those things, I would definitely say a voice is something that's most important for me to think of the book as my favorite book. But the thing that makes the book stand out the most to me is probably the structure. This year I read 2 books that I can distinctly remember, and those would be Mrs. Death, and Shark Heart. Both of those books have kind of similar structures in a way that they have different kinds of writing styles. I feel like those 2 books I will remember for a very long time just because the way they were structured. The thing that makes the book my favorite, that makes the book stand out to me, is the voice the author uses. Is it a voice from the first perspective, or is it a narrator that is narrating in a certain way? I feel like it really makes or breaks a book for me. For example, recently I read Howard the Ninth for my TBR tackle video. I did not understand that book mostly. For like half a book I was so confused what was happening, but I still wanted to read it, and I still didn't feel like, oh, I should just DNF it, because I enjoyed the voice that author used so much that I just couldn't stop reading it. So I feel like the voice really makes or breaks a book for me. I will read almost anything under the sun, any kind of theme. If it's intriguing to me, I will read it. And the prose style, well, I feel like that kind of goes with the voice, because depending on the voice that you use, the prose style will be different as well. So yeah, but I would say the voice mostly. How do you decide what to read next? Do you plan ahead, mood read, or follow external factors, hype, recommendations, arcs? Well, I wish I could follow arcs, but I don't have any arcs. I hope someday I will get some arcs of the books. I would really love to do that, to get them and to read them and to review them a bit more analytically. Recommendation can make me want to read the book a lot faster. Hype, usually the books that are hyped the most, like globally hyped the most, are not the books that I enjoy, but the books that are hyped from booktubers that I usually watch. It will definitely get to me, and I will definitely want to read that book before. But overall hype of the books, I don't really care for those. I would love that I could plan ahead my reading and say, okay, next month I will read this, 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 and this, and this. Sadly, if that's not the case, I can make myself read 3 to 4 books for the next month. Mostly I read the books that just I really want to read. If I was to say to myself, okay, this month I have to read War and Peace, no, I wouldn't be able to do that. I have to be in a special mood to do that. So for some books that are quite short, I don't really care about the mood I'm in currently, but mostly I try to read books that I'm in mood for, because that just makes reading experience more special to me, and it makes it more fun to me, and I want to do that while I'm reading. I don't want to make myself read something that I really don't want to read. Where do you get inspiration for your BookTube content? What sparks your video ideas? Other creators, trends, personal reading experiences? Well, I would say all of the above. I definitely follow trends. Currently, this book tag is going around, so I wanted to be a part of it. But I would say that if a creator that I really like and really enjoy watching does certain kind of video, I would probably want to do it the same, well, not the same, but like similar kind of video, just because I think it would be so fun to do that kind of video. My personal reading taste, my personal reading experience, I've been in the mood to read short books recently, so I'm trying to recommend as many as short books as I possibly can in my last few videos, and I'm currently in the mood for reading some new releases, so I'm trying to recommend those as much as I can. Yeah, definitely. I would say all of the aboves. It's not only from my head, and my video ideas are far from original. I do them because it's fun and I'm having fun in making these videos. If you could make any book go viral right now, what would it be? A book you think deserves more attention and why? Both of the books I read this year. First book that I feel like should really get more popular and more hype is They're Going to Love You by Mike Howry. I feel like if people who love literary fiction knew about this book, they would love this book. I feel like most people would love this book that enjoy literary fiction, because this book was a first pick for my book club, my in real life book club, and everybody really enjoyed the book, and everybody told me, oh my god, that was such a good book. And I just feel like it deserves way more hype. I never heard anyone talking about this book. I don't know if anyone did, but I didn't hear them. And I'm so sad, because this book, I feel like a lot of people would really enjoy it. Like, truly, really enjoy it. Especially the people that read literary fiction. And the second book that I feel like people would really enjoy, and the author is known for James Percival Everett. So James, last year, really a lot of people put it on their favorites list of the year. People should probably look at his backlist, because he's been an author for a really, very long time, and he's written probably a lot of good books. One of the others that I read is Dr. No, which I already talked about on my channel a lot, but I will still talk about it because I feel like it's such a good book, and it was so fun, and it's so goofy, and I just loved it, and I feel like people would enjoy this book if they gave it a shot, and I just think that book needs to be more talked about as well. Both books did not come out in the last 3 to 4 years. They came out before, but I still feel like they deserve to become more viral, because the books that are becoming viral currently are not the books that came out just recently. There are like books that came out ages ago are becoming viral again. So I feel like these two need to become viral. Definitely, I would recommend it, and I do recommend them to everyone. And the last question is, who are some booktubers with reading tastes similar to yours? First one is Books and Lala. I feel like she is the first booktuber that I started to watch really a lot of her videos, and she's the first booktuber that made me kind of want to read a lot of the books that she talks about. Then I watch a lot of Florence Harvey. Her reading tastes aligns with mine like to a T. She has the same favorite books, and almost every book that she talked about in her videos, I either read or is on my TBR, and the books that she loves, I do tend to love as well. So I would say her. Wicked Reading as well. She is another booktuber that reads a lot of that weird lit fic horror books, and she also did this tag as well. So I will link all their channels below. Another one is Steph. Steph makes the most amazing recommendation videos ever. I picked up so many books that she recommended in those videos, and I mostly really like them as well. Like, for example, I picked up The Deep because she recommended it so much, and I am so glad that I did. Or Open Throat as well, she recommended, and I picked it up because of that, and I really enjoyed it. And there are so many other books that she recommended that I put on my TBR. And for fantasy and sci-fi, I do tend to have kind of the same reading taste as books with Brittany, and she reads a lot of fantasy and sci-fi books that I definitely would like to get to. And yeah, those are the booktubers that I like, that I feel like my reading taste aligns with the most. I don't know if I left anyone out, but I feel like I watch a lot of other booktubers, even though our reading tastes don't align exactly. But these are the ones that align with mine. Also, Books with Brittany also did this video. So yeah. So, okay, that's it. Thank you for listening to me yap about books and about things that I like for almost an hour. I hope that this video will not be almost an hour long video. I hope that I will be able to cut it a bit shorter, but it was really fun. I hope that now that you've seen that our reading tastes align, you will subscribe, because you see how good of a reading taste I have, and it's reading taste that you as well have, or you should have. So you can subscribe now. But okay, that's it. I'll see you guys in my next video. See you. Bye.